A reading from the book of Genesis, chapter 44. Joseph commanded the servant in charge of his house, "Fill the men's sacks with as much food as they can carry, and put each man's money in the top of his sack. Put my silver cup in the top of the youngest brother's sack, together with the money for his grain." He did as he was told. Early in the morning, the brothers were sent on their way with their donkeys. When they had gone only a short distance from the city, Joseph said to the servant in charge of his house, "Hurry after those men. When you catch up with them, ask them, 'Why have you paid back evil for good? Why did you steal my master's silver cup? It is the one he drinks from, the one he uses for divination. You have committed a serious crime.'" When the servant caught up with them, he repeated these words. They answered him, "What do you mean, sir, by talking like this? We swear that we have done no such thing. You know that we brought back to you from the land of Canaan the money we found in the top of our sacks. Why then should we steal silver or gold from your master's house? Sir, if any one of us is found to have it, he will be put to death, and the rest of us will become your slaves." He said, "I agree, but only the one who has taken the cup will become my slave, and the rest of you can go free." So they quickly lowered their sacks to the ground, and each man opened his sack. Joseph's servant searched carefully, beginning with the oldest and ending with the youngest, and the cup was found in Benjamin's sack. The brothers tore their clothes in sorrow, loaded their donkeys, and returned to the city. When Judah and his brothers came to Joseph's house, he was still there. They bowed down before him, and Joseph said, "What have you done? Didn't you know that a man in my position could find you out by practicing divination?" "What can we say to you, sir?" Judah answered. "How can we argue? How can we clear ourselves? God has uncovered our guilt. All of us are now your slaves, and not just the one with whom the cup was found." Joseph said, "Oh no, I would never do that. Only the one who had the cup will be my slave. The rest of you may go back safe and sound to your father." Judah went up to Joseph and said, "Please, sir, allow me to speak with you freely. Don't be angry with me. You are like the king himself. Sir, you asked us, 'Do you have a father or another brother?' We answered, 'We have a father who is old and a younger brother born to him in his old age. The boy's brother is dead, and he is the only one of his mother's children still alive. His father loves him very much. Sir, you told us to bring him here so that you could see him, and we answered that the boy could not leave his father. If he did, his father would die. Then you said, 'You will not be admitted to my presence again unless your youngest brother comes with you.' When we went back to our father, we told him what you had said. Then he told us to return and buy a little food. We answered, 'We cannot go. We will not be admitted to this man's presence unless our youngest brother is with us. We can go only if our youngest brother goes also.' Our father said to us, 'You know that my wife Rachel bore me only 2 sons. One of them has already left me. He must have been torn to pieces by wild animals because I have not seen him since he left. If you take this one from me now and something happens to him, the sorrow you would cause me would kill me, as old as I am. And now, sir," Judah continued, "if I go back to my father without the boy, as soon as he sees that the boy is not with me, he will die. His life is wrapped up with the life of the boy, and he is so old that the sorrow we would cause him would kill him. What is more, I pledged my life to my father for the boy. I told him that if I did not bring the boy back to him, I would bear the blame all my life. And now, sir, I will stay here as your slave in place of the boy. Let him go back with his brothers. How can I go back to my father if the boy is not with me? I cannot bear to see this disaster come upon my father. The word of the Lord. A reading from the book of Genesis, chapter 45. Joseph was no longer able to control his feelings in front of his servants, so he ordered them all to leave the room. No one else was with him when Joseph told his brothers who he was. He cried with such loud sobs that the Egyptians heard it, and the news was taken to the king's palace. Joseph said to his brothers, "I am Joseph. Is my father still alive?" But when his brothers heard this, they were so terrified they could not answer. Then Joseph said to them, "Please come closer." They did, and he said, "I am your brother Joseph, whom you sold into Egypt. Now do not be upset or blame yourselves because you sold me here. It was really God who sent me ahead of you to save people's lives. This is only the second year of famine in the land. There will be 5 more years in which there will be neither plowing nor reaping. God sent me ahead of you to rescue you in this amazing way and to make sure that you and your descendants survive. So it was not really you who sent me here, but God. He has made me the king's highest official. I am in charge of his whole country. I am the ruler of all Egypt. Now, hurry back to my father and tell him that this is what his son Joseph says. God has made me ruler of all Egypt. Come to me without delay. You can live in the region of Goshen, where you can be near me. You, your children, your grandchildren, your sheep, your goats, your cattle, and everything else that you have. If you are in Goshen, I can take care of you. There will still be 5 years of famine, and I do not want you, your family, and your livestock to starve." Joseph continued, "Now all of you, and you too, Benjamin, can see that I am really Joseph. Tell my father how powerful I am here in Egypt and tell him about everything that you have seen. Then hurry and bring him here." He threw his arms around his brother Benjamin and began to cry. Benjamin also cried as he hugged him. Then, still weeping, he embraced each of his brothers and kissed them. After that, his brothers began to talk with him. When the news reached the palace that Joseph's brothers had come, the king and his officials were pleased. He said to Joseph, "Tell your brothers to load their animals and return to the land of Canaan. Let them get their father and their families and come back here. I will give them the best land in Egypt, and they will have more than enough to live on. Tell them also to take wagons with them from Egypt for their wives and small children, and to bring their father with them. They are not to worry about leaving their possessions behind. The best in the whole land of Egypt will be theirs." Jacob's sons did as they were told. Joseph gave them wagons, as the king had ordered, and food for the trip. He also gave each of them a change of clothes, but he gave Benjamin 300 pieces of silver and 5 changes of clothes. He sent his father 10 donkeys loaded with the best Egyptian goods and 10 donkeys loaded with grain, bread, and other food for the trip. He sent his brothers off, and as they left, he said to them, "Don't quarrel on the way." They left Egypt and went back home to their father Jacob in Canaan. "Joseph is still alive," they told him. "He is the ruler of all Egypt." Jacob was stunned and could not believe them. But when they told him all that Joseph had said to them, and when he saw the wagons which Joseph had sent to take him to Egypt, he recovered from the shock. "My son Joseph is still alive," he said. "This is all I could ask for. I must go and see him before I die." The word of the Lord.